Wake up. The problem isn't proof, it's prosecution. They stole a presidency, extorted the Supreme Court, abandoned Americans in Afghanistan. Congress beds Chinese spies while torturing jailed patriots. They trash your petitions while pocketing bribes. They ignore your letters while acquiescing to extortion. Public schools are still pedoed. Churches commied. From 99 to 2016, U.S. men's testosterone dropped 30%. These are infiltrated and interdicted inflection points. Your cherished conventions are corrupted. Your precious paradigms shattered. If you say they should be arrested, you're asleep. If you say your head's in the game, you're wrong. Don't tell me you're not a Team America member and then ask for TA help. Don't tell me it's not fair. My kids know life's not fair. Easy is over. Make it, hunt it, grow it, or find it. Repeating failed formulas means you're lazy or crazy. Dress in black and infill Blantifa. Pose as a dem poll watcher. When betrayed like me, begin again. Or be a good little welfare slave. You get the government you tolerate and the country you deserve. I'm a retired SOCOM soldier, former DEA special agent and DIA intelligence officer turned whistleblower warrior, targeted by the deep state, served and sabotaged, rejected and redeemed, failed and forgiven, betrayed and saved, rejecting revenge, humbled and blessed, repurposed in redemption, as chaplain, leader, teacher, and truth teller. Now, America's intelligence officer, following God, leading my family, and any that choose to join on our long walk to faith and freedom. Welcome. I'm Jeff Prather, and this is the Prather Point. Hey, lots to cover today. Welcome, everybody. Trump frees Alexandrovitch, Israel's new Epstein. That is the breaking intelligence that I want to get into, but also Trump's no troops in Ukraine pledge is already a lie. Zelensky, Putin, Euro summit distracts from Alexandrovitch scandal because it was a bluff, big nothing. Bottom line up front, it was a bluff. American was Christian. Trump is Jewish by deed. And pop culture is black racist religion. And then finally, Team America Iowa leader Steve Corey may be joining us to fight federal trafficking and show options, answers, and solutions to the predicament we find ourselves in. So that's what we're going to cover today. Before we get to that, remember to go to sat123.com, sat123.com. Get your satellite phones. The only reliable way to make communications is SATCOM. The next best thing to SATCOM is satellite phones. I'll have Brett Miller back on. Tina is a good lady. And you can always get the Iridium satellite phone free for $95.95 a month for a 24-month plan, or you can get it in Marsac at $85.95 a month. And there are also family plans as well. Sat123.com or call 855-980-5830, 855-980-5830. Also, don't forget to go into the jeffreyprather.com shop, get your Faraday bags. You got to have those so that you can have private conversations, private meetings. Even if your phone's battery is out, they can track you. Even if it's on airplane mode, it can be turned on. The only way to stop that is to leave the phone or to bag the phone up. All Team America members use those. All professional intelligence officers and law enforcement officers use those as well. Give me some of that on Rumble, and see Marco there on X. Glad to see everybody. Remember to go to patreon.com/Jeffrey Prather. Sign up at the $5, $15, or $25 level, or jeffreyprather.locals.com as well. Sign up at the $9 or $90 a year level, or just go to jeffreyprather.com and support the show. Your support keeps the Prather Point free since 2018. So, a lot of stuff breaking, there's a fake story out there. Breaking: DOJ to hand over Epstein documents to Oversight Committee this Friday. It's going to be a big nothing burger. If you read the story closely, The Justice Department informed us that the department will begin to provide Epstein-related documents to the Oversight Committee, which of course nothing ever happens with these committees anyway. There are many records in DOJ's custody. It will take the department time to produce all the records. It's been going on for years. Of course, this is just slow walking, nothing really. And ensure the identification of victims. And here's the key phrase: any child sexual abuse material, which is going to mean the abusers, the people in power that raped, kidnapped, tortured, and murdered little children, are redacted. So this is nothing that's going to come of this. And of course, nothing ever comes of Congress, because America is pedo and porn HQ world headquarters central. That is the truth. We are just like the Roman Republic, a fallen republic, replaced with a mob democracy, which is run by emperors, and they are run by the Praetorian Guard puppet masters. And we are slowly sliding into savagery. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But the pedo states of America just released the new Epstein. And so Netanyahu's cyber chief was arrested in Vegas in a child predator sting last week. You've probably heard about it. He's an IDF vet and head of the AI for the Israeli government. So what does this really mean? Well, this means that Epstein was on an island, and the problem was you had to go to the island and you had to have flight logs. That was problematic. Now America is Epstein Island, and it's an E-island because it's pedo porn via IA and cyber that's happening with this monster. And this guy's name is Tom Artyom Alexandrovitch, and he's a predator in a suit. So August 13th, 2025, Las Vegas police, yeah, I know, Las Vegas police, and working with the FBI, yeah, and Homeland Security, yeah, and Nevada's Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force announced the arrest of 8 men in a 2-week child predator sting. So it was a team. It's a conspiracy. And one of them was a top Israeli cyber warfare official working directly under Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, which we already know. This is Mossad. This is pedo. This is Epstein Central. According to Las Vegas Metro Police, and of course, Las Vegas Metro Police are in thrall to the casinos, which are in thrall to big crime. And I've worked Las Vegas extensively. We're charged with luring a child with a computer for a sex act. And that can be 20 years in prison, but Alexandrovitch was released. But remember the key here. He was doing it with a computer, and he's a cyber warfare top official and acting head of data and AI for the Israeli National Cyber Directorate. So this isn't just one pedo going after one kid. This is, I assess with a high probability rate, this is the next Epstein 2.0, e-porn, e-pedo porn, e-island, e-Epstein Island that's going on here. But he got caught. So it was an exercise. It did not work out. But not to worry, because he was released. And before that, he was executive director of the Cyber Defense Division before he was acting head of the data and AI for the Israeli National Cyber Directorate, which is pedo porn. And before that, he was director of the Cyber Defense Division. He founded Israel's multi-million-dollar Cyber Dome. So this isn't a coincidence that this guy's getting caught. This guy was doing this to iron out the problems that are still plaguing them from Epstein Island, because we're going to hold on to that. We're not going to let that go, even though Trump and Bondi and Bongino and Patel are all ready to move on. But make no mistake, this is Epstein 2.0. This is virtual pedo porn, and it's a world porn as opposed to an island, but it's headquartered here in Las Vegas and in America, because America is porn and pedo central, as well as drug headquarters central for the world. And so if we don't reform, we're going to slide into further chaos. So now the Israeli state media spin said that, yeah, he was arrested. An employee of the Israeli National Cyber Directorate, they didn't say, was briefly detained before his release and returned to Israel. Remains unclear. So that's the cover up there. He was not briefly detained. He was charged. He was arrested. He was imprisoned. Um, but he didn't even have diplomatic immunity. Now, if you got a red passport, you get out of jail free card, but he didn't even have that. And he was in Las Vegas for a professional conference. So he was working. This was what he was working. So there was no legal obligation to let him go. But of course, we let him go. And again, this isn't just one guy, in my estimation, going after a little boy. This is a guy setting up another network at a professional conference with a team. And even worse now, it turns out that the White House intervened at Netanyahu's request to free the Israeli child rapist. So not only is Trump, Bondi, and the DOJ not going to expose, indict, and convict the obvious Mossad child predators on the Epstein list, they are already freeing and cover up Israel's new Epstein, who doesn't limit his predations to an island or a ranch, but has expanded his infestation worldwide via cyber and AI child porn. And Trump and the DOJ are in lockstep. And it brings me no joy to say that. But a bombshell report reveals the White House intervened at Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's urgent request to secure the swift release of Tom Artyom Alexandrovitch, one of Netanyahu's top cyber war officials, accused of child rape in the U.S., allowing the suspect to flee back to Israel just days after his arrest in a high-profile sting operation. So he's being charged. He's got to come back for his trial later, but that'll probably be dismissed. You'll get the guys in black suits showing up. Hey, this is this is national security, and we can't tell you why, and it'll all be covered up. Just like the Kona case, Eugene Yu, just like so many cases, because the government is trafficking children still. It's even worse than under Pedo Joe, because it was much more obvious under Pedo Joe. Now we've got Newsmax and Fox acting like CNN and covering it up. And the Trump MAGA cultists are like, oh, yeah, Trump's doing a great job. Everything's fine. Following Blathering Bongino and Pathetic Patel and Bondi, who's doing nothing at all. But the Trump administration personally intervened at Israel's request to override U.S. law enforcement, including their own federal agents. So it looks like the FBI was actually doing something. Hard for me to believe for once. I would actually probably think that the FBI alerted the Trump regime to this, because we all know the FBI covers up and runs child pornography. We can go back to the finders on Ted Gunderson's work, the fifth highest FBI agent, special agent in charge, Sack, who saw the CIA running kids through satanic rituals, and then the FBI covering that back in the finders case as well. So that's why Trump frees Alexandrovitch, Israel's new Epstein, and it's worse than before, because it's not just an island. It's not just logs. It is on the dark web. And the Trump administration is all in on this. And so that's the sad reality here of that. Let's get into also Trump's no troops in Ukraine pledge. So Trump had this big meeting at the White House with Zelensky, and then he was calling Putin, and he was sitting down with him with European leaders and telling everybody it was an honor. That's typical, bureaucratic and diplomatic BS. That happens all the time. Nothing to be unexpected there, but he got some questions. It's great that he does create questions. And he said, no troops in Ukraine, no boots on the ground. And I wish, I would love to say something nice about Trump. I have said lots of things. I did a whole new video after he won the election. And now I've had to take that down. I preface this by saying, as a proud retired Army officer, soldier, and veteran commissioned by the President of the United States and the Commander-in-Chief Ronald Reagan. It pains me to say this, but the unsayable must be said. I'm no longer an Army and military intelligence or Defense Intelligence Agency intelligence officer. I am America's. And that's what I declare myself to be, America's intelligence officer. So I must tell America the truth, even though it is hard and unhappy. We had National Guard training troops in Ukraine before the war. Then CIA, Special Activity Division of CIA, and classified SOCOM troops leading up to and into during the war. I believe it was one of my special mission units. I saw elements of that. Talked about that before. A guy with the laptop running around right before the strike. And we still do. So there were 14 Special Forces troops that were admittedly there, but you don't send in Special Forces troops by themselves. There's a B team someplace to support them. Now, admittedly, they might be in Poland, which is the FOB, the Forward Operational Base, with all the FOBITs there, but there would be standing by with CSAR, Combat Search and Rescue, which is the Air Force PJs, pararescue. There'd be close air support, because there's got to be, if there's close air support, aircraft goes down, you got to have CSAR to go get them. There'd be SIGINT elements for that little small teeth of a couple SF troops. There is a large tail, and I'm wearing my SOT pin there today as well, because I'm a graduate of SOT. So this story goes back to April 18th, 2023. Matt Geitz was asking to find out how many troops we had in Ukraine. And this is back in 2023. And according to leaked Pentagon documents, there were 97 Special Forces troops from NATO's country operating in Ukraine as of March 2023, including 14 U.S. Special Forces folks. So 97, at least 100, and that's the operators. That's not the logistics train behind them. And the Pentagon, of course, didn't deny that, because that's what the Pentagon does. But while 14 Special Forces sounds like a drop in the bucket, those things add up. Of course, as I've just explained, there's lots of support. And American history is rife with too many examples of presidents secretly employing U.S. troops without the consent or knowledge of our people, and almost always goes sideways. Remember, Michael Yon has said, covert operations are not the exception, they are the rule. I think that's very true. He's a veteran as well. And I'll tell you, from all my Special Forces deployments were classified, all of them. And when I was in Honduras, right in the Las Vegas salient on the edge of Nicaragua, the training missions were cover for the operation missions when, I snuck into Nicaragua there for the first time. Then I went back overtly as a DEA special agent, but the first time I went covertly, clandestinely. And so we know from reporting in 2022 that the CIA had a strong presence in Ukraine, engaging in a network of commandos and spies. Because remember the snipers, where do you think they come from? Or where do you think the sniping training came from there as well? With critical weaponry, the weapons have to have weapons instructors. The military intelligence is military, of course. So there was a much larger CIA and U.S. Special Operations personnel and resources presence than ever reported. In November of 2022, the administration announced it was sending a team of weapons inspectors, translate that as weapons trainers, in there, and it would be setting up a new Joint Forces Command called a Security Assistance Command Group Ukraine. That sounds exactly like Military Assistance Command Vietnam, Special Operations Group, MACSOG, which is all Green Berets carrying on Phoenix Wet Works, Phoenix assassinations. And I worked with a lot of those guys down at SOC South in Corey Heights in Panama. So it looks like the exact same thing, a little bit different acronym: Security Assistance Group Ukraine, SAGU. And then in February of last year, the Washington Post reported that the Pentagon wanted to revive Ukraine war orders that would allow them to insert commandos in the form of control teams to counter Russian disinformation. So what's that? PSYOPs. That's SOCOM. That's where I started in SOCOM, 4th PSYOP group, right there. And Washington had been operating such teams in Ukraine under Section 1202 of the 2019 National Defense Authorization Act until the invasion last year. So Trump saying no boots on the ground, as he said it, was a lie. And why is he acting like this? he is being either misinformed or he is just as outright lying. And these are obvious lies. So U.S. Special Operations Forces deploy everywhere, sometimes indistinguishable from combat, unbeknownst to the American people. This is certainly true. A lot of the times I was actually wearing long hair because I was in civilian clothes. I mean, that was the cool sign if you were in a long hair team. And most of the time when I was in Central and South America, we had longer hair. And there's also the use of contractors, whether they be Americans or third party, in GWAT, Global War on Terror as well. And I'm also wearing my cool guy GWAT pocket piece there as well. So it's sad, but it's certainly true that as Trump said, no troops, no boots on the ground in Ukraine. That was a lie, even as he said it. Give me some of that. Says, I thought I heard the whoosh, whoosh, whoosh of the sunshine pump at that meeting. Oh, okay. Got that. Give me some of that. Very cool. Yeah. Thanks. I'm glad you guys like that. And again, that's the skull and dagger and crossed arrows of the Special Operations Tactics school. That was the forerunner course to Delta that I graduated from, the blue light course way back in the day. So the bluff, the bottom line, the up front is the Zelensky Putin Euro summit was a big nothing burger, but more war. And so, Trump's talking, everybody's happy about the possibility of peace for Russia, Ukraine. And this story is hilarious. This comes in stark contrast to the Biden-Harris approach, which poured billions into taxpayer-funded aid into the conflict without a clear path to resolution. There's still no clear path to resolution. Nothing. And what does Trump say? We're not giving anything. We're selling weapons. So he says we're not giving them more money, but we are. And we're also going to give them more weapons. So if you give people more weapons, does that allow them to continue the war? It's not rocket scientist. It's pretty basic. It's yes. And so Fast and Furious was running guns to Mexico. Then it was Benghazi. Then it was Syria. Then it was Ukraine, or then it was Afghanistan. Then it was Ukraine. And it's continuing Ukraine because that's part of the dark economy of weapons, drugs, and people. That's what the deep state and the global cabal, which are the international deep states, run upon. And remember, too, Trump just made a deal because the Army's drone program is such a failure. Remember, they couldn't even get a drone to drop a grenade, while the Ukrainian drones are so advanced, they've been hitting Russian troops forever. And so Trump and Hegseth just made this deal, $1 billion deal for Ukraine's drone tech for the U.S. military. Except, where did Ukraine get the drone tech in the first place? They got it from CIA and DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. And where did they get the money for it? From American taxpayers. So it's another big money laundering loop. And again, and give me some, how many of those weapons will be sold? Well, we already know a lot of those weapons have been sold on the black market. And again, it pains me. I take no pleasure in saying this about Trump, but I'm going to tell you the truth. Because I promised to give you the truth. I declared myself to be America's intelligence officer. So I'm reporting my intelligence product, which is my analysis of intelligence information. And evidence is fact-based proof. The fact-based proof is we had troops in before the war, during the war. We still got troops in there. So Trump was lying about that. The fact-based proof is Alexandrovitch was released. So the intelligence indicates that this is the next Epstein. So I hope you understand that. If you want to see more of that, you can always go to patreon.com/Jeffrey Prather. At the $5 level a month, you get the created news stories. If you go up to the next level, $15 a month. So it starts out as Psy Warrior, then Truth Seeker. And you get deeper dives of documents there. For example, I just published all the congressmen that are on the Israeli payroll, and they have dual citizenship. seeing how they are owned by Israel, and how can you have dual citizenship? How can you be loyal to two countries? How can you have two masters? Of course, Yeshua said that you cannot. So you can join at the $5 level, create news stories. $15 level, you get deep resources, and $25 level, daily training videos. And that's where I'm training with a lot of folks. And give me some of that. How many weapons will be sold in the black market? Well, we have no idea, but a lot of them will be. So the dark economy of the deep state, in league with the global cabal, which are Satanic child predators, killing, raping, murdering, drinking children's blood, is going on fully. So America was Christian. America was great. Trump is saying, make America great again. Okay, great slogan. How? America was great because she was good. America was good because she was godly. God chose Israel, but America chose God. That is, the Pilgrims came over here not for money, like the Jamestown guys did, like the Virginia Trading Company. They came over here for religious freedom. They consecrated their lives and their existence to God. And that was already true about being free with the Haudenosaunee Iroquois Confederacy of the Five Nations, which had lasted hundreds of years, founded by Deganawida, the great lawgiver, and Hiawatha, his disciple. And that only fell when the Oneida sided with the Americans. Everybody else in the Confederacy was working with the British. So the Confederacy of Nations was already in existence. That's what Benjamin Franklin really modeled the Confederacy of States on. There's not a lot written about that. There is, where Franklin commiserates that when they're trying to convert Indians, they won't come over. But as soon as folks go over the Indian way of life, they love it. They never come back from it. But that's the truth of it. So the ground was already prepped here for all of that. But we are no longer a Christian nation. We've lost our godliness. We don't follow Mosaic law, the 10 Commandments. We don't follow the 2 Christic commandments. We don't follow the 2 Athachanas commandments, which are, you probably know, the 10 Commandments and the 2 Christic commandments. The 2 Christic commandments being the most important, because Christ is the Messiah, Yeshua is the Mashiach, Jesus is the Christ. And Yeshua fulfills Torah, which is Old Testament, but the 2 other China's commandments are never harm children, and everything is born of woman. Earl Jackson says Ronald Reagan came up with Make America Great Again. Well, I didn't know that, and I was commissioned under Reagan, and Reagan ran a lot of covert ops. But anyway, America it's on the line whether America is going to return to being a Christian nation or not. So all of the original states' constitutions were godly. Most of them were Christic. That is, they specifically mentioned God and Christ in them. Maryland was Catholic because it's Mary land. Pennsylvania Dutch were the Quakers. So this is true. So the Supreme Court got it wrong. And I'll talk about this later on in a story where separating church of state. No, that's not what the founders' intent was. The founders did not want a Church of America, just like they rejected the Anglican Church of England, which, by the way, is fading right now. But the first Bible published in America was by the Congress for use in schools, for moral training, and for grammar and syntax, which is why Washington and Lincoln state speeches sound like scripture, because they're complicated. And de Tocqueville, when he came over here, was amazed that all the peasants in their sod huts were illiterate. Why were they illiterate? Because they had one book in their little sod houses, and that was the Holy Bible. And everybody followed that. So America was Christian. All the original states were godly, and most of them were Christian. Trump may say he's Christian, but he is clearly Jewish or Zionist or Talmudist by his action, because he does everything that Israel wants. everything. And the latest example of this, Alexandrovitch guy, he could have repented. He said, "Hey, we're not going to have any more of this. We're not going." But he went right along with it. He's ignoring it. So America was Christian. There's a question of whether we're going to return to our morality and become a virtuous populace again, which means we can rescue the republic or not. Trump is Jewish or Zionist, but America's pop culture and left is racist, is black racist. And that goes to my latest Substack. And if you haven't read my latest Substack, please read it and also subscribe to it. Most of the stacks I write are free. Not all of them are. There's some real sensitive ones that are not free. But appreciate that. If you can sign up, that's $80 a year. Pretty good deal. Anyway, I said, are you sick of the shiny black heroine? Is there a Peter Wood malignant media show, film, or spot that does not feature an SBH, shiny black heroine, asking for a friend? Whether it's Taylor Sheridan's Lioness or Disney's Ironheart, the latest PSYOP propaganda script sold to the sheeple, ready to sell their souls, is the shiny black heroine SBH myth, being pounded into our psyches via every available outlet and every format. And no film fakery illustrates this obsession better than Levi's recycled, now super slick, new jeans commercial series featuring Beyonce. Beyonce with her fake butt, fake breasts, fake blonde hair, fake horse riding, fake bike riding, beats, of course, the white action star Timothy Oliphant at pool, who must then be publicly humiliated, which is a deep state initiation ritual, by dropping his drawers in the pool hall. I know Oliphant's father, by the way, Green Beret Silver Star guy, jerk, insulted my wife in my home, made him apologize. Saldana, and I like Zoe Saldana, especially as Ohuda, echoes the theme in Lioness. She is constantly yelling at white soldiers and officers, reminding them that she outranks them. Not only is it ludicrous that a skinny woman is out pipe hitting with husky CAG operators, Combat Action Group, Crisis Action Group, Delta operators. This is not how women are deployed with Delta, nor is it how CIA Special Activities officers build rapport and cooperation on military bases in Afghanistan, a base that protects and provides for them. That is yelling at all the soldiers that support you, not how you get cooperation. But she's got to be to brutishness in script. These scripted productions are high budget, sophisticated, and targeted campaigns designed to sell not only jeans and advertising spots, but a leftist ideology that has become the new religion of the anti-black racism turned on its head to a cult of black superiority that allows no unbelievers and brooks no naysayers. Disagree and you're labeled racist and deplatformed. I know. The original Prather Point was on the radio in Tucson until I sinned against the left's new racist religion. And when I dared to say on air that Black Lives Matter did not care about the 6 million aborted black babies, but only a couple of black criminals such as George Floyd and Obama, I was summarily removed from the air. No discussion, no debate, because that is heresy. The script reinforces the stereotype, the superiority of blacks, and specifically women. But what's the purpose? No difference in the original black stereotype of the shuffling, simple-minded slave. Reinforce a mindset and attitude to establish a belief system, a religion. The old stereotype was scripted to demean blacks and elevate whites. The new script is designed to elevate blacks by demeaning whites, specifically black women versus white men. The dumbed-down, simplified script for simpletons goes like this. Because whites enslave blacks, whites are bad. If whites are bad, then blacks must be good. And since men took dominion over women via selective scripture readings, skipping Ephesians 5:21, submit to one another, and focusing on 5:22, wives submit to your husband. Nice how they did that, right? My wife just did a sermon on that on Sunday. Then, of course, men are bad and women are good. Thus, the best must be black women. Never mind that African blacks had domestic slaves and sold their enemies into slavery abroad, to miss the fact that American Indians had slave twos. In fact, everyone who could have power over another had slaves because of our fallen nature. But our fallen nature cannot be acknowledged by the Communist News Network and its like, because to do so would acknowledge the truth in Scripture. And acknowledging scriptural biblical truth is to acknowledge the truth of God. And the satanically sourced human secularists that failed in France and Mexico, but that have succeeded in American mediadom, cannot have any of that. But the real question is, why? As always, if the script does not fit reality, make reality fit the script, or at least appear to, by controlling the narrative, by limiting the scenes shown, scenes like this. And this is the Bainbridge daycare worker charged with first-degree child abuse that just beat this black woman who beat this little white boy up terribly. Black eyes, split lips. This is a woman who should have some kind of mothering instinct in her, but that has been removed through abuse and through drugs. And a daycare worker was arrested last week for alleged child abuse at the Little Blessings Child Care in Bainbridge by the City of Bainbridge Police Department. Yvette Thompson, 54, was taken into custody, faces charges of first-degree aggravated battery, 3 counts of first-degree child abuse. Bond was set for $44,000. Shouldn't be, and she bonded out. And Little Blessings Child Care is affiliated with the Bainbridge Church of God. And you don't hear much of this story. Now, you do hear it on Liberty Luminary sites, but not in the mainstream media. And this kid just looks horrifically beaten and really injured, may have orbital bones broken. And these are the now daily savageries perpetrated by blacks and black women. And Bainbridge is only the latest. There will be many more. Any big city. We just saw this in Cincinnati, where I'm from, happening. But the mainstream media covers it all up. And every TV shows the great black man or the great black woman or the great black gay homosexual woman or man. So this is the hard, sad reality behind the SBH shiny black hero, heroine, psyop perpetrated continually by the maleficent media and Peter Wood, while removing black historical role models such as Hattie McDaniel, who was the first black actress to win an Academy Award for Gone with the Wind, or Nichelle Nichols, Uhura, who Martin Luther King demanded she stay with Star Trek to inspire black girls because she was the first black lady on a TV show. And in February 29, 1940, Hattie McDaniel made history when she won the first black person to win an Academy Award. So instead of promoting those real world heroes, we get the fake Beyonce with fake breasts, fake butt, fake blonde hair. So just as the global cabal sponsors endless international wars on far off shores to distract the dumbed down and drugged up sheep citizenry from their crimes via jingoism, while money laundering, the Praetorian Guard domestic deep state double government fosters domestic wars for similar reasons. Race war and gender war dangles and distracts us from the predations of our democidal democracy of mob rule. Look there, not here, and never, ever look at us. Rome understood that their fallen republic and failed empire was the mob. That's why they spent themselves into oblivion, watching Christians being burned alive and virgins raped by specially trained animals in the Colosseum. The only difference is now we're able to watch remotely by iPhone, courtesy of Trump and Alexandrovitch and Israel and Mossad. So that is my latest Substack. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of flack from that. Nothing new about that. But I always present options, answers, and solutions. I am always hope-filled because I am always faithful. And Earl Jackson, it's all part of the Zionist script. Yep, that is true. It's also part of scripture as well. But do have options, answers, and solutions. And one of the answers, is my ChristChaplaincy.com, ChristChaplaincy.com. That's if you want to return to emulating kinetically Yeshua and Christology, join us at ChristChaplaincy.com every Sunday. It's free. If you want to look at the services at other times, they're all recorded there, ChristChaplaincy.com. It's 501c3 if you want to donate there as well. My initiation training is ongoing. You can find where you can train at that, again, at ChristChaplaincy.com. I have certified instructors, the chaplains who are teaching that nationwide, that teaches emotional maturity. You're physically mature when you can love, when you can reproduce. You're emotionally mature when you can love well. If you can love well, then you can love God well, and you can love your neighbor well, and you can fulfill the 2 Christic commandments given to us by Yeshua. You can also join Team America at jeffreyprather.com. And get involved, which is a totally free volunteer organization with lots of talented, hardworking people doing lots of great work behind the scenes. And that's another solution that I want to talk about today. And so that's why my only in-person speech this year is going to be in Iowa in September with Team America Iowa, who's putting on a conference called End Human Trafficking, Transhumanism, and Tyranny. And I'm honored to get to kick that off with other luminaries, Kathy O'Brien, Catherine Seri, Stacey Bess, Sarah Westall. I know a couple of these, Emily Peterson, Michelle Peterson, Mark Thompson. And that was organized by Team America Iowa leader Steve Corey, who is my guest today. Welcome, Steve.
Hey, Major, how are you today?
Doing good. Thanks for coming on, especially at the last minute.
Absolutely. It took me a second to figure out how to get this, but we're here, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, very good. And so, I want people to understand that I'm not just presenting problems, but solutions. And America, via Team America, and the states are actioning these solutions, actioning the intelligence. And I think you and Iowa are the perfect example of that. So please tell us about what you guys are doing and why this conference is so important.
Well, and you've talked about it quite a bit in your podcasts, almost weekly, and it has to do with this whole this stain on our society that we call human trafficking, and you know, when we talk about that, what Team Iowa has learned is that yes, we know about the open borders and the invasion that took place, you know, in the last 4 years, and all of the horrific things that happened there. But what we're not talking about the guy in the white van, you know, who's going through a neighborhood and kidnapping kids off the street. Does that happen? Yes. But what we've learned, and I'll back up a little bit to share how that came about, is we've learned that the human trafficking that really is so pervasive in our society is what's happening in our own communities, in our own backyards, in many cases, by leaders in our communities, whether they be clergy, whether they be businessmen, whether they be law enforcement. It doesn't matter. It cuts across all of the different genres, so to speak, that make up our communities. And in many cases, what we learned is family members trafficking their own children. In some cases, trafficking their children to literally put food on the table. And this all came about when we came across a documentary film that was produced by an Iowa State graduate here in Iowa. It's called Grid Shock. And you can actually purchase it online for $10 for your own personal viewing. And then we decided to actually pay the money so that we could take this documentary film to the public. It features 3 women who were trafficked right here in Iowa. In fact, one of them, one of these gals, was trafficked just north of me here in Sioux City, Iowa, out of Morningside University. And you know, it's the stories or their stories that they share openly in front of a camera are very, very hard to hear. When they talk about on any given weekend night being trafficked and 30 to 50 times a night to different men. It's hard to imagine the human spirit, the human body to endure something like that. And there's even an interview of a gentleman who was a customer. He was a minister who was hooked on.
Well, then he's no gentleman.
Well, he's not a gentleman. No, I guess. Thank you for correcting me. He's got serious issues, and his story is he got hooked on porn, and he was literally contemplating. He'd saved up some money and going to Reno, Nevada, and purchasing a woman for a night and he would be able to do anything he wanted to this woman, no matter how horrific physical abuse, whatever it might be.
So and let me interject here that prostitution is legal in Nevada. So
yes,
people need to understand that. So, but he wants to go beyond that because of the porn addiction. And this is exactly what Alexandrovitch, I assess, was doing here, setting this up. Okay, please go ahead.
So anyway, what got him sort of back from the brink of doing something like this, his wife actually caught him in the act of watching porn. And rather than, throw him out of the house, which he deserved, she actually enveloped him with love and forgiveness. And that has brought him back, and he is going through quite a process to try and redeem himself in the eyes of God and his family and his own community. But that just was a very interesting. There's other,
No, that's great
officials.
because you're showing a way out. That's an option, solution, and answer, and it's spiritual and emotional. So that's great.
Very, very much so. So anyway, one of my team members, she actually is my assistant team leader on Team Iowa. She's a public speaker. She's done it for many, many years, and gives a very powerful presentation using grid shock for the first 55 minutes. I also took it out into the field and started presenting in our communities. And Stacy said, "You know what? I want to take this and really run with it." And we said, "Absolutely." So she's now shown grid shock around 170 times across the state. And we feel like, based on the number of people who have attended these viewings, we've touched about probably 17,000 people in the state of Iowa. She's even presented in in North Dakota. She went up there for a 3-day tour, so to speak. So we're reaching even beyond the state of Iowa, because this is not just an Iowa issue by any chance. But what's really happened is through the documentary film, she's had a lot of people who have been trafficked who have come to watch the presentation and then have been sharing their stories with Stacy. So now I think probably even the most important part of her presentation is the second hour, when she starts sharing these stories that we've gotten, that she's received from these different people who have been trafficked. And it's just, and we're also now trying to teach the people who come to these viewings what to look for when they're out in the community, when they're out traveling, also how to protect their children, because their kids are being targeted online big time through whether it's social media or even gaming platforms. And in fact, there's some interesting things. So there's a gaming platform called Roblox, and it happens to be a gathering point for these predators and whatnot. And I think that's starting to come to light. But we're trying to educate not only the citizens, but we have a lot of LEOs, law enforcement people coming, sheriffs, city police chiefs, things like that coming to these events. And then this last spring, by the grace of God, we finally broke into the schools. And the interesting thing, and I think I've shared this story with you, was it was literally a private Catholic high school that first invited us in. I was there for that. And since then, just due to peer pressure, we now have public schools that are, right now Stacy's booked out well into fall. This week she's busy. In fact, the day before our event in September, she'll be presenting in Atlantic, Iowa. So it's
but she'll be presenting at the event September 13th, right? Stacy Bish.
Yes, she will. She will. So it's going to be a really awesome day, I think, of enlightenment for a lot of people. We have to, this is just the first step. And this is what I was on another podcast this morning with our state representative, Mark Thompson, who's a retired Marine. And you're going to get to meet him. He will be presenting. But one of the things that we're starting to work with Mark on is, there's this giant pipeline, right, of human trafficking. We have, the demand, and then we have the supply, and we have to figure out a way. And then, we've got people, we've actually interacted with people now who are actually doing rescues. We got a gentleman in Des Moines, Iowa, who has his own safe house, and he's actually going into homes in Des Moines and rescuing women and children. And he's doing it. He's going in on his own without law enforcement. He doesn't carry a weapon, but he's been in homes. He's told us this story that actually have cages in them.
Yeah, and I learned how this is done. I've actually done a little child rescue, and I learned this when I was going through SOT, because I then got to hang out with Delta guys and how they would usually do the child rescue I did was in Mexico, and I emulated what I learned from Delta way back in the day. Is usually it's in my day, it was some naive American woman who'd marry some Middle Eastern Muslim guy. And when they go over there, all of a sudden they can't drive. They can't do anything. They don't have access to their kids. Sally Field made a movie about it, Not Without My Daughter, way back in the day when they were making brave movies. And so, the Delta guy would go over there with the no guns, stop the bus with the mom, throw money at the driver, throw the keys of the bus into the desert, point to the kid, point to the mom, kid goes to the mom, they exit the country. And that's what we did in Mexico as well. Took the parents, took the mom with to get the kid. So it's not like the stupid movies you guys see. I would imagine that's something like what your guy is doing.
Yeah, what we're trying to do now with collaborating with Mark Thompson, he's a state representative, and he's gotten some amazing legislation passed in just the first 2 sessions that he's fairly new. He's been a state rep for 2 years. His first year, he got our state laws hardened. It was voted on unanimously in the House and Senate and signed by the governor. And then the next year, last year, he got an anti-grooming bill passed as well. He's done some amazing work as a state representative. But what we want to work on now is a total solution. In other words, we rescue somebody, then what? Law enforcement doesn't even know what to do with them in many cases, Major. Right. And then and then we have to find a way to redeem these people, to bring them back into life.
And this is what the churches should really be doing, but they're not.
Yeah. They're not. They're not at all. In fact, we've actually had churches who have turned us away in regards to presenting grid shock.
Yep. And so then it's time to go find a new church. Just like if your church shut down during COVID, or if your pastor doesn't want to talk about political issues because Yeshua was executed for political speech, then time to find a new church. Yeah, you got to hook me up with Mark, because I see he's also, besides being a former Marine, a Benghazi whistleblower. So, I've talked about that a long time. So down the road, got to have him on as well. But let's talk a moment about, the important thing here I want everybody to understand is, so you hear me talk about this stuff in a grand sweeps, but then Iowa, Team America Iowa, and Steve have done the hard work of organizing this on the ground, and look at the great results and the force multiplication, because the feds ain't doing it. The FBI is in on it. The CIA is in on it. DHS is in on it. And so it's the ground up resistance movement in plain sight. Now, this operation is very open. This is a very public. Most of Team America's operations are very quiet and behind the scenes. So again, love to have you guys join. A lot of hard work, not a lot of recognition. You've seen Nathan Glover, the headquarters operations officer, fabulous in deep intellect, deep man of faith, come on. You've seen other Team America members come on at times, but there are those who can't and won't because of what they are working. But this is a great effort, and because this is our line in the sand here. If we are okay with the torture, kidnapping, rape, and murder of children and little girls to support these corrupt intelligence agencies, then we're done. We're just going to continue to slide into hell. This is our line in the sand. This is our hill to die on. So that's why I'm really proud of Steve and Team America Iowa and Team America in general, working behind the scenes. But anyway, tell us a little bit about Kathy O'Brien. I just want to hit the speakers. I want everybody to know who else besides me is going to be there talking.
Well, Kathy O'Brien is going to be sort of the anchor for the day at the very end of the day. Kathy was trafficked by her own father when she was 18 months of age into the MK Ultra CIA program, and then from there trafficked at the very highest levels of our government. I'm not going to name names or anything like that, because she's got a documentary film called Transformation out that gives her life story. And then she actually had a daughter. She was literally kept, held in captivity for 31 years or something like that. She had a daughter during that. She was aborted twice during that time frame. Her daughter then was also then kept, held and trafficked.
She had 2 abortions, you're saying?
She was, there were 2 abortions that she had. These, I'm sure, not of her own free will.
And abortions are very scarring on women emotionally and physically, by the way.
But long story short, She was rescued by a gentleman who found out about her while she was in D.C. There's a hint right there for y'all, where she was being trafficked and who may have been participating in abusing her. And he rescued her and the daughter, and he's passed since a few years back. But Kathy has found a way of finding her way back into life, and I call her an angel on earth. She was on one of our Team Iowa calls, and for 2 hours she shared her story, and I felt like there was something. I mean, emotionally, it was something else to just to listen to her story and go through the emotional roller coaster that we all had to face. But she's an amazing woman, and we're very excited about having her come join us.
And this is Saturday, September 13th. And this is in Des Moines at the FFA Enrichment Center. And you can call Steve at 712-389-0717, 712-389-0717 to sign up. The admission is $99 for the whole day. And I'm going to speak for an hour. I never really usually speak that long, but I've got like 7 or 8 PowerPoints to stock. Kathy will do the bookend, but there's also Catherine Seri Melicat. She's actually been on my show as well.
She has.
Talking on geoengineering and AI. We've already talked about Mark Thompson and Stacy. Sarah Westall will be on. You know, Sarah is a major force. I've had her on and been on with her as well. But then also, what about Emily Peterson and Michelle Peterson?
So both amazing mama bears. So Emily Peterson was involved, she and another woman in the state of Iowa back during the whole pandemic. Her kids were being basically pulled out of their classrooms because of the mask mandates, and they were being targeted by the school board, the whole 9 yards. Emily and another woman went to war against the Ankeny School District. Ankeny is where our event is actually going to be, which is a suburb of Des Moines, and got some legislators. Actually, Emily was on the Clay Clark tour for a number of years. You probably ran into her, Major. And she became a force, got some state legislators involved, and they actually wrote an anti-mask law and were able to get it both through the House and the Senate in the state, and got the governor to actually sign it right in the heat of the pandemic. And now she's working to basically shine the light on CPS, Child Protective Services, because they are a big part of our problem as well in this trafficking situation. So she'll be talking about that. Michelle Peterson got the first anti-grooming law passed in the country, and that was in, of all places, the state of Illinois.
Wow. And you can also go to goevents101.com/Team Iowa, goevents101.com/Team Iowa to hit a QR code to get more information, right?
Yeah, you can actually buy your tickets with that QR code.
So that's GoEvents, GOEVENTS 101.com/Team Iowa, TEAMIOWA, GoEvents101.com/Team Iowa. And, you know, it's not just, so we'll say, well, this is cool and Iowa's doing great. And I didn't know that Iowa's a headquarters for trafficking, but I'm not in Iowa. Well, the whole point here is you can come and see this as an example of how you can do this in your own state, and you can force multiply it. You don't even have to be Team America, although I'm really proud and honored that this is a Team America effort, and this is the key. This is exactly what I designed Team America to do, exactly. For local resistance movements to hone in on some intelligence that I've presented and action it. And this is our line in the sand. So this is a great event. You don't have to be from Iowa. You can be from anywhere. You don't even have to be on Team America, but then you can see how then to do the same thing in your state. And the great thing is, even if you're not Team America, they'll tie in with you and help you. We work with lots of groups. We actually prefer to work through other groups and keep a lower profile, because that's the way I worked all the time. It's just this time, this is the flyer says Team Iowa, Team America, but normally you don't know it's us. That's how we prefer to work, but in this instance, it's the best way to work. So I encourage, everybody that can to attend, because again, I know there's lots of events. Like there was just this events with Stone and Flynn, and I don't see any, I don't see any resolution there. And Flynn just came out and said there's trafficking going on, and old hat stuff. Mm-hmm. This is the line in the sand for us. This is where we either rise up and hold, or we fall and slink away, as far as I'm concerned. So this is really my focus, Team America's focus. I think it should be your focus as well. If you got any questions of Steve, go ahead and put them in the Rumble rant or the X chat. Daniel, I see you there. KJV's okay, but you're American. Why are you using a King James Bible? It was the Geneva Bible that bought the programs over here. Or, the NSAB, New American Standard Bible, is pretty good. And of course, we like the Victor Alexander Aramaic to English translation, or the Lamsa Torah translation better. But, KJV is okay. But I always wonder when I hear that from Americans is, if it was good enough for a king, it's good enough for me. You American, or you some kind of English subject? But, Holy Bible's always worthwhile. But just a suggestion there, Darren. Connie, yeah, I see that the churches are afraid of losing their 501c3 status. If they're fearful, then they're not faith-filled. Where faith emanates, fear leaves. That's the standard for that. Pamoff, how come so few pedos end up in jail? Because they are protected by the system, because the system is running the pedo system. That's what Steve's saying. That's what I'm saying. That's the whole thing with Epstein being covered up. That's the whole thing with Alexandrovitch being released. This is the deep state's dark economy at its darkest, of weapons, drugs, and people, and then children, and then little girls. And they are all in on it. That's why they do not end up in jail. And that's why I say at the beginning, if you say they should be arrested, your head is not in the fight. Because who should be arresting them is the FBI, and the FBI is in on it, and the CIA is in on it, and Mossad and Shin Bet are in on it. So, and why I say if you say head in the game, it's not a game, it's a fight. So I hope that answers your question, Pamoff. Any others before I let Steve go here?
I have one comment, Major, and that is, human trafficking is bigger monetarily now globally than arms or narco trafficking.
Say that again.
I said human trafficking is a bigger money, money generator now than arms or narcotics. Yes,
America's biggest export is weapons, which is in the billions. And it was drugs in my day, but America and Europe are drenched awash in drugs. And also it's tough, but the children products will walk themselves across the border. They can be resold over and over. But the first thing is to destroy your moral sense and your family sense via drugs. And now that you've done that, because I saw meth moms who would sell their kids. Mm-hmm. Way back in my day, I arrested women who had babies, with the coke under the babies, and those babies weren't theirs. So Latin Patriot 2020, I guess, gave me a $2 donation. Thanks. I've never had that before. Whoa, Vicky may be being held against her will in Africa. Is it possible to find out if she's being trafficked? Well, I don't know who Vicky is. I have never worked Africa. I don't have a lot of contacts there, but maybe we don't have a team in Africa but and I'm still doing private intelligence consulting, but I don't have a private detective license. But, you can always email me at jp@jeffreyprather.com, jp@jeffreyprather.com, JEFFREYPRATHR. And maybe, we can help her through the chaplaincy, info@christchaplaincy.com, info@christchaplaincy.com. But don't know. I just got a letter from New Zealand and Australia about that too. So anything else you want to cover, Steve, before I let you head out?
Just one last comment regarding, drugs versus human. Most drug dealers, they'll go out on the street, they'll sell their dope one time, right? They got to go back. But a trafficker can sell that gal, boy, whatever, many, 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 many times in the same night.
And that's just one night.
That's just one night. And I used that same statement earlier today, that this is where we have drawn our line in the sand. This is the hill that we're going to die on. We're involved, as you know, in other things, but human trafficking we have to find a way to bring this to an end, and because this is it's a global cancer that we're dealing with today.
Yeah, and nobody else is going to do it.
No.
And Connie's commenting on the COVID church shutdowns in the Mormon church. Yeah, well, LDS I've shown through Test of a Prophet YouTubes, where the Dead Sea Scrolls have shown that Isaiah was not corrupted. So Joseph Smith lied, so he's not a prophet. So the whole base of the LDS church is false, even though not all Mormons are bad, but it's just like Islam is an evil religion and false religion. Muhammad was a pedo. He penetrated Aisha at 9. That's what the surahs say. He's also possessed by the devil, self-admission, which doesn't mean all Muslims are bad. It doesn't mean all Mormons are bad, but those are evil, false religion. Left you a video link in the comment section you can watch. He's an American Instagram influencer. Well, we'll see what I can do about that. Thank you kindly for that. And thank you, Steve, for coming on. I'm looking forward to being there. I've reworked my slide deck from 2 to 7 for the extra time. I appreciate you giving me an hour. I'll do 45-minute presentation, 15-minute questions, and it is really important. So Connie says, I was disgusted about the Episcopalian Church going with the COVID restraints, but most of the congregants voted for it. Yep. Most of the churches are fake. That's the truth. Most of the congregants aren't real Christians. In anything, there's a few that are real. And Steve and Team Iowa are that, I am proud to say. So proud and honored to have you guys on. Looking forward to seeing you. Please say hello to everybody, and God bless.
Could be fun. Thank you, Jeffrey. Appreciate it, Major.
All right. Okay, so that was Steve Corey of Team America Iowa promoting his event. Again, I'm going to be there kicking that off, speaking for an hour on September 13th, 2025. If you'd like to join me and Steve, go to goevents101.com/Team Iowa, goevents101.com, Team Iowa. There's also coffee, lemonade, iced tea, water, sandwich, and chips included with that. And besides me, Kathy O'Brien, Catherine Seri, Stacy Besh, Mark Thompson, Sarah Westall, Emily Peterson, Michelle Peterson, and of course, Steve Corey there at that event. So Israel is intensifying attacks on Gaza City, the territory's largest urban center. It plans to seize it. More than 62,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israel in its nearly 2-year genocidal war. Trump's meeting about Europe and Ukraine and doing nothing about the Gazan genocide. At least 30 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli attacks across the Gaza Strip since Monday, including 14 seeking aid. And the Israeli attacks are going unabated. And they're using heavy artillery, fighter jets, and drones in order to destroy what's left of the residential homes there. This is depopulation by repopulation. This is exactly what was done to the tribes. Give me some of that, says Steve. Good work. And, that brings me to a discussion of Zionism. I went to the dentist the other day, and we were talking about that. He was asking me about that, because we have spirited debates, Christian debates. Then he stuck something in my mouth and goes, okay, now you can't talk back. But the known Zionist Javier Milei, who is the president of Argentina, was just in Israel, and he was at the Wailing Wall and, hugging Netanyahu. And he is just going along with the Zionism that all the world leaders are, just like Trump. But the thing to notice about that is, and again, this is on my Patreon, that Zionism was a reactionary institution, but what we're now seeing is Zionism is no longer following the previous reactionary models, but shaping the new iterations of the right, converting itself into the vanguard of reaction. And so this is even more dangerous than before. Genocide is not the only tool of the fascists, but the so-called liberal imperialists as well. Democracies such as England, Belgium, or France in the past, Zionism borrowed from all these previous models of reaction, although some would claim the terminal conditions in which Zionism has put Palestinians as a radical departure or out of the ordinary. But Zionism began as a colonial political project. This is the terrorism of the pre-Israeli state that was sponsored against Britain. But one only has to read Zev Jabotinsky's writings during the 20s and 30s to understand the degree of osmosis between the European fascist and colonial model and nascent Zionist model as a colonial projection. So it is true that Zionism does not exist in a bubble. It existed and continues to exist as a form of outpost for British and later U.S. imperialism in the region. But it is also true that Zionism as an ideological model is now most visible as an outpost of the imperial tradition. Zionism provided technical and military training in a myriad of Latin American juntas and military dictatorships, such as Chile, Pinochet's Chile, and Videla's Argentina, and Paraguay. There were Nazi sympathizers. Mossad reached an agreement with the fascist dictatorship where 60,000 Palestinians would be resettled in Paraguay, continuing the ethnic cleansing against the Zionism promised. Zionism also provided scientific know-how to apartheid in South America as well. And slowly, this is Zionism taking the lead, just as Israel wants to become Greater Israel to be the world leader of countries for the one world false Messiah. But Zionism is not an edifice, is not a centralized monolith. It goes from secular to liberal to the religious, yet is all the same foundation that holds all these different variants together, the construction of an ethno-religious state, which was never what Judaism was about, because Judaism was never a state back in those days before 1948. Zionism is no longer just a Jewish project, but an ethno-nationalist one, shrouded in the rhetoric of defense of Western civilization against the invading barbaric Islamist hordes. Wishing their Jewish population would leave Israel, they invoke Israel as a symbol of European resistance against Muslim immigration. Of course, the left is encouraging Muslim immigration as well. Those who masquerade their Islamophobia and fascism under the guise of nationalism applaud Israel as a model. Since October 7th, a litany of right-wing parties have shown their support to Israel, so far claiming that Israel is the West in an environment that rejects and fights the West. When we stand with Israel, we are defending our way of life, as Alexander Guland, honorary AFD chairman, has stated. So I think we also have to emphasize that there is a deep attraction on the part of the far-right leaders and movements to Israel as a state, because Israel is an ethno-national state based on racial exclusion, based on policies of oppression, of dispossession, of apartheid. And for that reason, Israel has a strong appeal to those right-wing organizations, right? And leaders who love deportations, who love building walls. Israel is seen as a kind of model. Those are serious accusations to consider. Even Trumpism has seen a sort of schism during these times, from America firsters like Tucker Carlson to Zionist apparatchiks like Ben Shapiro and Ted Cruz. When Orban or Salvini or Christian keep pushing for their ethnic racial models, it is no longer Trump who they reference, it is Netanyahu. So much so that when Yoram Hazony, president of the Herzl Institute and exponent of the national conservatism, when invited to Hungary last year, Orban openly admitted his admiration for the Israeli model of ethno-nationalism and cultural homogeneity. This is the rise of fascism yet again, of Aryanism, of Hitlerism. And of course, Zionism has always been tied to Nazism. The continued survival of Zionism has been sustained by the veil of legitimacy provided by the Western powers. Where fascism and colonialism has stopped being in vogue with the lexicon of power, Zionism proved a model that could carry the legacy of the reaction. Only Zionism truly remains, and with years of propaganda, mythologizing, and financial support, it is still portrayed as a legitimate political construction by Western media and their imperial allies and their churches, because they do not pay attention to Yeshua's parable of the vineyard in all the synoptic gospels told on the steps of the temple to the Pharisees on Sanhedrin. Zionism is no longer hiding in the shadows. Facilitating the global reactionaries with training and support, they find themselves on the front line of colonial imperial ambitions. The last attack on Iran, unimaginatively named the 12-Day War, and the more recent bombings in Damascus only prove it so. In the past, Zionism could have waited and prodded to create the conditions for its continued survival. Now it has taken center stage in its blunt, bellicose nature and destruction. Through years of learning, assimilation, and borrowing, Zionism has taken its rightful place as the vanguard of the right, and all reactionaries must follow. So that is very important. And again, you can read that on my Patreon as well to go over that. So Bala Custom says, I heard they let him go, but also the state said the White House said they weren't involved. Well, it's intelligence stuff. So of course they're going to deny that. But also there's a story I want to wrap up with, and this is that Christian Britain youth revival, belief in God triples while the state religion fades. So this proves, I think, our founders were right. The Supreme Court was wrong. It was never the founders' intent to separate state and religion. It was to never have a state religion like the Anglican Church, the Church of England, which broke off from the Catholic Church. And so everybody who comes from England, the Pilgrims, were Church of England first. So all U.S. state constitutions are godly and most are Christic. But after decades of Christianity declining in Britain, and I think it is declining because it's a state church. So I have British friends. I deployed with some great Brits, Operation Raleigh back in '85 to Chile, which is kind of like an international outward bound. And I stayed in touch with some of them. Some of them came and visited me. They don't really take religion very seriously because it's a state-run institution. It's a political institution. And so they don't really have much faith. It's just kind of just something that you do. So the Anglican Church is declining. But according to YouGov's tracker of religious belief, conducted twice a year, the number of 18 to 24-year-olds professing belief in God rose from 16% to 45% as of January this year, 181% increase in just 3.5 years. A smaller but still significant increase was also registered among those aged between 25 and 49 years old, with the tracker recording a jump from 21% to 30% in 2021 to 33% in 2025. This has coincided with a 56% rise in those who attend church at least once a month between 2018 and 2024, with the number of regular churchgoers increasing from 3.7 million to 5.8 million. And you got to go to church. So we do our broadcast every Sunday, but we also go to church. You've got to establish the discipline of going to church and fellowship for your children. You just can't sit on the couch. But this is really interesting because a British priest, Father Damien Feeney, told the news that he believes the growing number of young people interested in faith comes from a need for structure, shape, and routine in their life. It's exactly right. Children want discipline. Discipline brings freedom. I just taught my kids martial arts class the other night. I have them repeat, discipline brings freedom, and boundaries mean protection, and protection means they are safe. So that is very important to understand. The desire for structure and order, previous mention, has led to a renewal of interest in traditional liturgical worship among young adults. The use of beauty in language, color, music, and drama as an appeal. So true. Everybody's sick of all the evil and dark, gritty evil. Everything's a devil. Everything is a homosexual. Everything is a tranny. Everything is a lesbian. People are so sick of that, and they are returning back to God. So the state church in England is fading. The Anglican Church is not growing. The Catholic Church is growing because it's one of the original churches, or the original church. Now Catholics are going to get mad. Of course, it's the only original church. You know, it is certainly part of the original church, big part of the original church. When Yeshua says to Kepha, Peter, you're rock, and upon this rock I will build my church, could also mean that he was at Caesarea Philippia, which is where traditionally Hades, the rock. This was actually even shown in The Chosen, where people came to worship false gods and demons, as opposed to, hey, you're the only guy. And of course, Paul writes to 7 churches, and Yeshua talks to 7 churches in Revelation as well. But regardless of that, Catholic Church is growing 23 to 31%. Pentecostal churches seen a 6% rise. Anglican Church decrease from 41 to 34. Why? Because it's a state church. It's a government political institution. That isn't the real deal. And of course, there was the Archbishop of Canterbury, which is a big deal in England. And again, that's why I'm saying KJV. What are you, English? I'm not an English subject. I'm an American citizen, although I'm an American inhabitant, really, technically now. But Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, was pushing woke ideology in an apparent attempt to court young people before resigning in disgrace this year over accusations of failing to investigate child sex abuse. Old story. And he'd been advocating for social justice, Marxist Black Lives Matter. So what's happened with the Catholic Church too? Infiltrated by homosexuals, and homosexuals turn to pedophilia. And that is the sad truth of that. Of course, I think all the homosexuals are not listening to the show anymore, but they're not used to being criticized. They're just used to being praised. That happened with one of my senior homosexual black belts. You're not allowed to criticize them, just like you're not allowed to criticize blacks. Daniel, the king didn't write it. No, the king approved it. And if you go back and look at your history, it was the Geneva Bible that brought the pilgrims over here. The Geneva Bible, first Bible written in English. And when they read it, they're like, this isn't what they were being told. We've got to leave. We've got to give up everything. The Geneva Bible was then purposefully pushed to replace the Geneva Bible. So as Americans, not real interested in what the king approved. I don't want any earthly king, and you shouldn't either. He didn't. It's still a great Bible, but it's not the best Bible for Americans. The most best Bible for Americans, and as a chaplain, I would indicate, is the NSAB, New American Standard Bible, pretty good translation. What we use in the chaplaincy, New Testament, is Victor Alexandrovitch. New Testament from Aramaic, because Yeshua spoke it, to English, so it's real quick. And for the Torah, Old Testament, it's Lamsa's Holy Bible as well. But not really interested in a Bible that a king approved and supplanted the Geneva Bible with purposefully. If you look at your history, you'll find out that what I'm saying is true. Okay, brother, but just a point. And so what you're getting with me is deep dives and deep truth. And you don't have to agree with me, and probably ticked everybody off. Say ticked off the Mormons, ticked off the Catholics, ticked off the who else did I tick off on this? We'll see. Anyway, don't see any more questions there from anybody. So I will just guess I will wrap up for today. Remember, here we go. Anglicans, I'll look into your Geneva Bible. Appreciate your exhortation. Yeah, any Bible. So Christianity in whatever form has done more for the world than all the other religions combined, period. KJV is fine. If you really want to get into studying scripture really well, I don't think it's the right Bible. So there's a lot of other scriptures that are better. So, for example, in the Aramaic translation, Yeshua says, For this I have been kept, and then it is accomplished, as opposed to why have you forsaken me, which I know is quoting scripture, but which one makes more sense? The Lamsa really has a great intro that shows how Aramaic words can be misrepresented easily. And Paul talks about speaking in Aramaic there. It's in scripture. I think it's in Corinthians. So, for example, a camel through the eye of a needle, it's actually the word camel and the word rope are almost similar, real close. It is actually rope was the correct analogy. So the Holy Bible is true, but it's often misunderstood, mistranslated. And so we're going for more accurate translations. And yes, I have the audacity to say that the church fathers didn't get everything right. So if you want to learn more about that, join me at christchaplaincy.com. And you can always get my old sermons and everybody else's old sermons at christchaplaincy.com. You can watch them all. Connie, where can you get an Aramaic Bible? Again, if you want to get a handbook, well, you can get one on Amazon, Victor Alexander's Aramaic New Testament. But if you want to see all the books we use in the chaplaincy, then we'll send you a handbook. Here is our free handbook. Okay. And it tells you all about what we're about. And in the back there, it gives there are 2 pages there of all of everything we use and why we use it. The different texts. So we use an Aramaic New Testament translated by Victor Alexander. You can get it on Amazon. Holy Bible translated by George Lamsa on Amazon. The Didache by Aaron Milavec. And that didn't make the New Testament because it was lost, but it should have. It's the first century handbook on how to be a Christian. The Complete Gospels by Robert Miller. Initiation, Boys Are Born, Men Are Trained. Hey, that's my book by me. Great book. He Walked the Americas by Taylor Hanson. It's about the manifestation of the resurrection in America. Soul of an Indian, Charles Eastman Ohayesa. Hebrew Yeshua versus Greek Jesus, Nehemiah Gordon. Sacred Secretion, Christ Oil. That's a YouTube video. The Unseen Realm, documentary film. So some of the references there as well. But again, if you don't have a moral base, you're just not going to make it. So your moral base comes from your faith. And so that's why I'm always emphasizing faith. You're not going to make a political solution alone. The Christians could not conquer Rome, but they co-opted Rome through martyrs' blood. So anyway, if not you, who? Time is short, lines are formed. Time to awake or dream. Choose life or death. Are you a sheep or a sheepdog? Warrior or slave? Victim or survivor? Jabbed or not? Do not line up, step out. Do not consume, save. Do not obey, resist. Do not believe, discern. Do not trust, verify. Do not conform, rebel. Do not submit, refuse. Do not kneel, stand. Kurahi, we stand together alone.